Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Lutfi Khairuddin, and I'm a student of Department of Agricultural Socioeconomics, Faculty of Agriculture, Gadjah Mada University, Indonesia. I will present my research with the topic is Enso and CPO price volatility in Indonesia. These are the outline of my presentation, first introduction and then methodology and then discussion and conclusion. Okay, introduction. Several prevalent strategic issues that are currently and will be faced by the world are global climate change and food and energy crisis, both of which affect the increase of food prices, resulting in change in food exporter supply. A more intense climate variability shown by the increasing global warming and extreme climate phenomena may result in the imbalance of demand and supply, causing a price fluctuation in both agricultural and food sectors. One of the most potential commodities in agriculture is crude palm oil or CPO, which is the most produced and consumed type of vegetable oil in the world. These are some graphics about projection of world CPO consumption and palm oil products. CPO is an agricultural commodity that plays an integral role in Indonesian economy and has become the state's biggest foreign exchange contributor. These are some graphics about foreign exchange contributor, development of area and production of oil palm, and palm oil export volume and value. Palm oil is mostly produced by tropical countries such as in several countries in Africa and South America and Southeast Asia, in which Indonesia is currently the biggest CPO producer globally. In this palm plantation industry, climate is a very influential given factor and is believed to be the major cause of palm production failure. Figure 1 shows that the geographic distribution and ranking of global palm oil production nations. According to Harvard 1995, the Enso or El Nino Southern Oscillation is a dominant factor that causes the climate anomaly, especially related to the drought level and rainfall intensity in Indonesia. So what is Enso? Enso or El Nino Southern Oscillation is a climate pattern phenomenon that involves change in the water and atmospheric temperature across the eastern to central area or Pacific equator. The National Ocean and Atmospheric Administration or NOAA calculates the Enso with the Oceanic Nino Index or ONI value, which is calculated from the sea surface temperatures or RST in the Nino 3.4 region. These are some pictures about Enso anomaly and ONI from NOAA United States. Enso arguably plays a critical role in tropical countries such as Indonesia, primarily due to its intrinsic linkage with agricultural production and prices. A high and unpredictable price change may yield in increasing price volatility. Levitt states that increasing volatility can result in price uncertainty in the future. Volatility is the drastic change of price over time. Figure 1 shows that there was a price increase from 2006 to 2008 and tended to decrease from 2011 to 2018. Such significant fluctuation indicate that there was a volatility in CPO price. This study aims to calculate the fluctuation of CPO price in Indonesia or volatility and to elucidate the influence of Enso climate anomaly on CPO price volatility. This study will contribute towards the existing empirical literature by combining two time series empirical research methods, which are ARTS, GARS, and factor error correction model. Therefore, the empirical findings of the current study will assist the policymakers in designing a sustainable agricultural economic policy in Indonesia. These are some literature review about Enso and price. Our research on the influence of climate change on rice price volatility using ARTS method and VCM showed that climate change positively affects the rice price volatility in Indonesia. And then the effect of Enso on the dynamics of wheat price using V-star showed that the overall price of wheat increased after La Nina and decreased after El Nino. Another research on the influence of La Nina and El Nino on CPO price in Malaysia, which found that La Nina and El Nino have a positive correlation with CPO price movement on the market. The data used in this study were monthly data from 2006 to 2018, including CPO price in Indonesia, Indonesia's export CPO value, and rupiah exchange rates. Meanwhile, INSO data were obtained from the National Ocean and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, of the United States, shown by the ONI index value, which is the sea surface temperatures, or RST, in the NINO 3.4 region. This research used two models. First is ARTS, autoregressive conditional heteroscedastic models. ARTS model was developed by Robert Angel to estimate the volatility of data that undergo time varying variance or heteroscedasticity and volatility clustering. ARTS model was then generalized into GARS RM that assumes that data variance fluctuations are influenced by a number of previous M data fluctuation and volatility of previous amount of data R. The general form of GARS RM in this research is as follows as in the presentation. There are four compulsory steps in administering the ARTS-GARS analysis model, which are first, data stationary test, and then ARIMA test, ARTS-ALM test, and then determining the best model and forecasting volatility. The second model is VECM, or Vector Error Correction Model. VECM is a technique that corrects a short-term imbalance into a long-run equilibrium, which can also reflect the current and past relationship between dependent and independent variables. The steps in VECM analysis are first, data stationary test, determining optimal lag, and then firm model stability test, and the last is co-integration test. VEC model at the first difference is written as follows on the presentation. Delta vol price is the first derivative factor of dependent variable or price volatility. Delta ln export, delta ln NT, and delta ln ONI are the first derivative factor of independent variable with lag 1. EZT is the error obtained from the regression equation at lag 1, and alpha is the co-integration coefficient matrix. Results and discussion: CPO price volatility in Indonesia. The results of ARTS-LM test showed that there is a residual heteroscedasticity on main model. Hence, residual modeling is needed with ARTS-GARS models. The best ARTS-GARS model are the ones with the smallest AIC and significant ARTS-GARS parameter coefficient. The best ARTS-GARS models for the residual of main model is GARS 3.1 models as follows on the presentation. CPO price volatility was obtained from the conditional standard deviation of GARS model, which is the GARS 3.1 model. Figure 2 shows a high level of CPO prices volatility in 2008 and a relatively more stable level in 2011 to 2018. The highest level of volatility was in April 2008, reaching more than 80%, shown by the higher CSD values compared to other periods. The crisis in 2008 caused the food prices to increase toward their all-time highs. Vector Error Correction Model. Estimation of the VECM model is carried out to determine the short-term behavior of a variable to the long-term that is affected by the shock. In the long run, the variables of export value, rupiah exchange rate, and the ONI index have a significant effect on the volatility of CPO prices. Three variables significantly influence the growth of CPO price volatility in the short term. They are the growth in the value of CPO price volatility, growth in the export value in the previous 1 month and 2 months, the growth in export value in the previous 1 month, and the growth in the rupiah exchange rate in the previous 1 month. The VCM equation with CPO price volatility as the dependent variable and the export value, the rupiah exchange rate, and the ONI index as independent variables can be seen in the following equation on the presentation. In the long run, the ONI index affects the value of price volatility, while in the short term it is not affected by the ONI index. The ONI index harms price volatility in the long run. A decrease in the ONI index, which indicates the tendency for SST to decline and the occurrence of La Nina, will have an impact on increasing price volatility in the long run. The low ONI index, which has an impact on increasing price volatility, indicates that the tendency of La Nina has a higher impact on price volatility, which is partly due to the instability of CPO supply. In this short-term equation, there is a negative error correction, which means that there is a short-term and long-term relationship. Conclusion and suggestions. The study measures the volatility of Indonesian CPO prices and examines the effects of the Enso climate anomaly on the volatility of Indonesian CPO prices. The value of CPO price volatility in 2006 to 2018 varied, with the highest spike in 2008, and was influenced by the value of price volatility in the previous period. And so climate anomaly doesn't affect the volatility of CPO prices in the short term, but in the long run. The ONI index holds price volatility in the long run, which indicates that an increase in the ONI index will have an impact on reducing price volatility in the long run, which indicates that the impact of La Nina on price volatility is higher than El Nino. The results of this study can provide information for the government in agricultural development and CPO price stabilization policies as a price control mechanism, which means that there must be a regulation in demanding patterns, maintaining stable levels and production costs. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.